Yuya, a teenager who has been mistreated all his life, sees a girl being harassed by a group of mindless people and goes over to help her, causing the displeasure of the gang members, who proceed to use him as a punching bag in front of the waifu, who watches the situation in terror. When the police arrive, the gang members leave Yuya lying on the ground and the waifu runs to help him. But Yuya just thanks them for their concern and leaves, leaving the waifu and the policeman perplexed. To cheer himself up as he returns home, Yuya recalls the words of his grandfather, who repeated over and over again that he should be brave to help people in need. But seeing his own family write horrible things to him outside his house, he begins to think that not even his parents and siblings loved him. But on the contrary, they have treated him like trash since he was born because of his appearance. In fact, Yuya's grandfather was the only one who took him in, so he practically lived with him all his life. When he passed away, his grandfather left his entire inheritance to Yuya, and although his parents tried to take away his house and inheritance, his grandfather was very thorough with the will, so they couldn't take anything away from him. Now Yuya must raise himself despite his youth, relying on his own work for a living. The next day, the bullies do not spare Yuya even in the last days of school, so they beat him up before he goes to work, even when he begs them to let him come to work early, as they might fire him. Unfortunately, they ignore him and Yuya's hunch comes true. Arriving home after another horrible day, Yuya grabs something to eat to relax, but ends up bursting with rage when he sees his reflection in the mirror, as his appearance caused all the misfortunes in his life. In the middle of his fit of rage, he hits a wall and it turns over, revealing a secret room that Yuya had never seen before. After inspecting the eccentric and esoteric room, he finds a strange door that leads him to a new world and notices that his stats are constantly advancing, going up many levels just by wielding some of his new weapons. Then, he notices that the house is protected by a powerful spell that protects him from the dangers of the outside world. After a few moments, a powerful enemy appears and Yuya takes courage to defeat him with a spear, since the barrier protected him in case something goes wrong. The enemy drops items that Yuya exchanges for money, but when he withdraws them, he notices that the payment is made in money from his world. Upon returning to his world, his body undergoes a transformation while he sleeps, but since he broke the mirror the day before, he doesn't even notice it. Yuya takes advantage of his days off to work in the garden in his new world and exchanges items for money in the real world. Days later, when he arrives at school, everyone watches him as they think he is a new student, but Yuya reveals to the bullies that he is the same as before. Not understanding the reason for everyone's astonishment at school, Yuya goes to the bathroom and finally contemplates his new appearance. Then, Yuya's younger brothers harass him, telling him that he will never be one of them. At that moment, the waifu who saved Yuya at first appears and recognizes Yuya, leaving everyone at school open-mouthed. The waifu explains to him that since that day, she has been investigating him, so she knows his physical transformation. In addition, she tells him that she wants to invite him to the Aosei Academy since she is the daughter of the Academy's president, and feels indebted to him for everything he has done for her. Yuya's hated brothers seize the moment and ask him to recruit them instead of Yuya, as they are better than him in every way. Kaori Hojo, the waifu, feels what we all would feel in such a moment, that is, repulsion. So she humiliates them by telling him that the Aosei Academy looks more at the human factor rather than the technical skills of the students. After this, Kaori's assistant takes care of Yuya's transfer, and takes him to his new school, where he meets Kaori's father, who thanks him very formally for attending the convocation, and explains that all his studies will be sponsored by the school, so he won't have to worry about paying the monthly tuition. Yuya is unhappy when he tells them that he doesn't think he is special enough to attend such a school, but the man gives him an excellent lesson in self-esteem, making Yuya understand that innate talent is not something he should worry about, but that he should take advantage of the different opportunities that appear, and that value is not measured by talent, but by what he does with what he has. To help him make a decision, she invites him to spend the whole day at school, so she calls Miss Sawada, an excellent teacher whom Mr. Hojo trusts very much. After hesitating for a few moments, Yuya finally decides to enter the classroom and introduce himself in front of his classmates, but his insecurities play tricks on him. As he sits down, he meets Hayoto, a sleepy waifu who doesn't pay much attention to her, making Yuya feel insecure again. At the end of class, everyone comes over to socialize with him, asking him all sorts of questions. Fortunately, a young man appears and asks the group to leave Yuya alone. The young man introduces himself as Ryo and invites Yuya to lunch. They both sit next to Shingo Kurata, a close friend of Ryo's, which leaves Yuya greatly surprised, since at his previous school, someone like Ryo would never be friends with someone like Shingo. In fact, he is even more surprised to see that Ryo loves Shingo like a brother, as Shingo recommends good anime for him to watch. At the end of the afternoon, Yuya tells Mr. Hojo that he agrees to join the academy. As he leaves the office, he meets Kaori, who invites him to an exclusive and trendy place to walk around and try some exotic desserts. She explains to him that almost no one behaves naturally with her because she is the daughter of the academy president. Yuya asks her how she recognized him, and she tells him it was because of her eyes, as they are unique and exude tenderness and kindness. This leaves Yuya in shock, who spends an unforgettable afternoon with Kaori. Upon returning home, he decides to enter the other world for a while, and feels brave enough to leave the garden and explore other adventures, but discovers a girl in trouble and must save her from some powerful creatures. Hearing that a group of adventurers is approaching, he uses one of his abilities to become invisible, and learns the name of the waifu, Lexia. The next day, Yuya irons his shirts while thinking about Leisha, but the moment he leaves home, he realizes that he always carries the same clothes, so he decides to go shopping. When he arrives, everyone sets their eyes on him because of his appearance as an actor or model. In fact, a photo shoot is about to take place at the mall where a very famous designer brand hired a prestigious photographer and 2 elite models to promote a new collection. But the hired model doesn't show up, so the photographer gets desperate and has no choice but to look for someone suitable for the job and starts making calls until he sees Yuya and begs her to help him. Yuya meets Miu, a beautiful waifu with a heart of gold who guides him to be as professional as possible, and the shoot is a success, with Yuya being the center of attention of not only the production team, but the entire mall. During the break, Miu and Yuya get to know each other better, and the waifu opens her heart to Yuya seeing that he is a bit insecure, explaining to him that she entered the modeling industry to give a good message, giving Yuya a big lesson. After a few moments, Sho, the model who was supposed to pose with Miu, arrives at the place and starts to captivate the attention of everyone in the place. However, his attitude is extremely rude and he approaches Miu in a harassing way, making her uncomfortable. Yuya politely approaches and asks him to be more polite to Miu, but Sho reacts in a horrible way, even trying to hit Yuya, but Yuya manages to defend himself and leaves Sho lying on the floor in one move. The photographer comes over and tells Sho to back off, threatening to show the video to everyone if he doesn't stop bothering Miu. Then, they offer Yuya an excellent work contract, but he refuses despite their insistence. Finally, they give him lots and lots of clothes from the new collection as a thank you. Back in the other world, Lexia and her bodyguards are in trouble again, but Yuya arrives and gets everyone to safety, defeating monsters and helping the injured. The waifu approaches Yuya and thanks him, asking him to marry her and leaving everyone open-mouthed. Yuya accompanies Lexia and her bodyguards to a hut and they reveal to him that Lexia is the princess of the kingdom of Arcelia and that she is the direct heir to the throne. In addition, the waifu again asks her to marry him, but Yuya tells her that this is too hasty, so Lexia proposes to start a friendly relationship and move forward little by little. Then, the leader of the princess's bodyguards tells Yuya that the king asked for a meeting with Yuya within the next few days, so he begs her to show up. Yuya agrees and takes his leave. Meanwhile, a strange man plans his revenge against Lexia, revealing that he is responsible for the attacks made against her recently. Upon returning to his world, Yuya marks the meeting with the king on his calendar so as not to forget him and prepares for his first day of classes at his new school. While watching the talented Ryo, Yuya meets Kid Kazama, a kind waifu who approaches Yuya to meet him. But a stray ball goes off the field and Yuya finds himself needing to save Kid, so he does a super pirouette to save her, leaving everyone open-mouthed. Later, during class, Yuya sees a group of gang members known as the Red Ogres enter the physical education field and harass the students, especially Kaori, as Yuya's brothers are the ones behind this attack and seek revenge on Yuya and Kaori. Seeing Kaori in danger, Yuya tries to take action, but notices that he is still afraid of Araki and his thugs as they have tormented him for years. But after calming down, he realizes that he no longer has to fear them and jumps out the window as if his bones were indestructible. After getting around several gang members and beating them up, he rescues Kaori. When the gang members are arrested by the police, Yuya approaches and brings his brothers to safety, because despite their horrible behavior, He doesn't want anything bad to happen to them, so they both start begging him to forgive them. Days later, Yuya went deeper into the forest of the other world to hunt more powerful monsters and level up. But when he was about to finish his journey, he sees a tender little creature being harassed by a very high-level orc and decides to help, even though the monster is very strong. When he manages to defeat it, he sees that the creature is very grateful and decides to take it as a pet, baptizing it with the name Knight. Upon hearing that Yuya has a new pet, Keat offers to accompany him to a pet store to buy accessories, so Yuya can now attach a leash to Knight to go for a walk. During the walk, Yuya meets Kaori, who greets Knight enthusiastically and is happy to see Yuya out of class. But while the two were talking, Mu appears and takes all the attention in the park, making Kaori uncomfortable. Mu explains to Yuya that she lives near the park, so they could go for a walk on any given day. Afterward, Mu says goodbye and Kaori tries to hide her jealousy, but can't help but ask Yuya if she is dating Mu, to which Yuya replies no and reassures Kaori, not quite understanding what's wrong with her. At that moment, a criminal assaults an old woman, and Yuya sends Knight after him. Knight captures the criminal without a problem and Yuya immobilizes him until the police arrive on the scene. At night, Yuya and Knight enter a strange cave they found while trying to level up, and after inspecting it in depth, they find a book called the Book of the Sage. Upon opening it, the book transmits all its power to Yuya, making him experience things he had never felt before. Upon returning to the garden, he begins to read and discovers that the book transmitted magic circuits to him, so now he can use magic. It also gives him some instructions on how to use it, so Yuya and Knight begin to train her. To better integrate him into the group, Ryo organizes a shopping day together with some classmates, and invites Yuya, who enjoys the day to the fullest and still can't believe that he has made such phenomenal friends. He even gives them gifts of all kinds using his arcade skills. After a while, the waifus decide to go to a floor that is exclusively for girls to do some shopping, so the guys take a few minutes to share a coffee. Suddenly, a fire breaks out because of a faulty cable and the building must be completely evacuated. But Yuya realizes that her friends haven't managed to leave the building and rushes upstairs, ignoring the firefighters' warnings. She uses magic to cover her body with water and runs towards them, taking them in her arms and cutting a hole in the building to escape. In the end, he has to use all sorts of excuses to explain how he made it out of that place. But everyone thanks him, especially Kaori's father. Yuya thinks he'll never have a family member to greet him like that when he gets home. But he's wrong, as Knight awaits him with more happiness than any human. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.